Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Speaking Sessions podcast. I'm really excited today. I've got Nell Tice here. She is a best-selling author, speaker, podcast host, owner of enTICEing Media, and coach with the Slay Maker Method. Both her and Kyle are super awesome people, great coaches. This is going to be an amazing podcast, but a little bit more about Nell. She is, after leaving her C-suite level career in the coffee and tea industry to pursue full-time entrepreneurship, she's focused on speaking about how to help others make their dreams become reality. And Nell is living this out. She's been doing an amazing job with her transition from that 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship. And so I know we're going to break into that story here. But Nell, tell us a little bit more about yourself and let us know who you are.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be doing this. You can probably tell by now, one of my favorite things to do is podcasting. So, very excited to be here. But Nell, who am I? I don't usually refer to myself in the third person, but Nell is. She's a very energetic, passionate person. I grew up very musically sound, shall we say. I was always into music, I was into performing, and I just always kind of knew I was meant to entertain somehow. I was meant to
Hmm.
be in front of people, whether that meant in front of a television on camera, if whether it was on the radio or somehow on a stage. I just always felt like I had something more to offer people. And I went to school for meteorology. I eventually changed my major to broadcasting. So I was preparing myself to be on camera and be in front of people. And I just, after leaving my C suite level job, I realized that is what I'm meant to do. And that's what I'm going to make happen. I never finished my degree. I'm making it happen on my own. So
There we
here I
go. I
am.
love it. And you definitely are doing that. I've enjoyed coaching you and helping you with preparing to speak on some of the stages that you're speaking on. Your podcast, What the Nell, is awesome. And
Thank you.
it's interesting that you have talked, and obviously you're doing it, but you're also behind the scenes. You do a lot of video editing, which you're awesome at that as well. But
Thank
it's funny
you.
how you're behind the scenes a lot as well, not
Yeah.
just in front of the camera or in front of people.
Yeah, no, I love the behind the scenes. I mean, I love the whole thing. I've always been fascinated by television and movies and I'm such a perfectionist that I'm like watching scenes over and over again to find something wrong. And I do that. I'm in video editing, so that's what I mainly focus on.
Hmm.
And some people just absolutely hate it because it's
Me.
incredibly yeah, I mean it's incredibly detail oriented. I can sit down for 5 hours in front of a screen and just get completely lost in every single detail, every decibel of sound, every minute pixel of a clip. And 5 hours later, my husband's tapping me on the shoulder going, you gonna eat dinner tonight? And it's like, oh, well, that time flew by.
Man, yeah, that's why I get you to do my video edits
Yeah.
because I can't stand doing it. I'm like, okay, I'll trim the beginning, I'll trim the end. If there was some kind of thing I butchered in the middle of the video, I might go and edit that, and
Yeah.
that's good. And I
Yeah.
loved it when you did my video, or one of the videos in particular for the training course that I'm creating or kind of created, but I've got to launch and everything.
Yeah.
Is that I made a joke and it was just kind of like a little pun or whatever. And then you put in like a laughing audience. That's just thought that was awesome. And I would never would have done that, but definitely added a little bit to that joke and everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just as in, structuring a speech, you also need to structure a story. There's a timeline for storytelling, and it's
Hmm.
important to be able to try and retain your audience's attention. And as well as I do that I mean, people's attention spans are so incredibly short. So within the first 15 seconds, I think is typically when you lose a person's attention to a video. So in order to keep their attention further than that, you really have to throw in those elements that of surprise, or laughing, a joke, or some sort of something else that happens to keep them watching.
Mm. Well, before you get too far into that, I love it. Great information for sure and totally true. I want to ask you my first question, which is always a canned question, but I love to ask this to get different people's opinion because this is something that everybody is literally afraid of. But what makes you not afraid to speak in front of people?
This is a fantastic question. So, the reason why I'm not afraid to speak in front of a bunch of people is because who cares? So, you've got a story. Everybody's got a story. I have a story. I really am so far over the hump of being afraid where now I just feel like I want people to know it because I want it to help them. So if you can find even a balance between being afraid and wanting to help so many people, if you can just get up over that hill and get to the place of all I'm focused on is helping people, that will help you be less afraid to be in front of people.
So, would you say it's going from being selfish to selfless then?
Ooh, you know, yeah, if you think about being afraid and being afraid of what people think of you and things like that, that is selfish. It
Mm.
truly is. Because let's face it, no one's out there paying total attention to you. You may think, I mean, think about putting an outfit on in the morning. You are wearing a crazy shirt or something like that. And then you look in the mirror before you leave and you're like, people are going to think I'm so weird for wearing this. Who are you to think that they're paying attention to what you're wearing, you know? People don't care. People are just they're in their own lives, their bubbles, their heads.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean it's definitely somewhat selfish to think that people are just always paying attention to you.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned about like wearing a crazy outfit. My wife always gives me a hard time because I'm wearing this, it's literally a gas station shirt called
The Bucky's
Bucky's.
shirt.
It's a big beaver. So if you don't know, it's a gas station that started out in Texas. Amazing, clean restrooms. It's basically like a shopping mall for a gas station with like 100 pumps and everything. It's crazy. But my wife is always like, why do you wear that shirt? Bucky's is just awesome. And it's
I
kind of
know.
being here in
You
South Carolina, nobody, if they finally
yeah,
open up one here, so I'm like, hey, I got it before everybody else. And now everybody's starting to understand about
you're
it.
the trendsetter. Yeah, no, you have to wear that shirt with pride. I got to tell you, I'm dying to get to a Bucky's because I saw it in a YouTube video and it's
Hmm.
like they have amazing brisket.
Yes.
Apparently, like, allegedly, they have amazing brisket. So that led me into researching other things that they have. And I was like, this place looks fantastic. I need to get there.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. They
Heck,
get the regular gas station stuff. They got a million fountain drinks. They've got all their stuff. And they've got a home goods section. So you can
really?
yeah, so it's crazy. I mean, it's expensive. That home
Oh,
goods section is crazy expensive, but they've got a lot of stuff. Now I'll say for gas station brisket, it's the best. But
yeah.
I'm from Texas and we're very prideful on our
Okay.
brisket. So it
Yeah.
doesn't compare with that, but it's pretty good for being, especially gas station food. I would say top of the line gas station food for sure.
Okay.
Definitely probably on par with some restaurants as well. But
Wow.
yeah, if you've never had brisket before, you'll think it's really good. But if you've had Texas brisket, you're not going to think it's the best. I mean, it's good still.
Yeah.
I'd throw that
I
out there because I know I've got a lot of listeners from Texas, and they would kill me if I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the best brisket." Because I mean, it's just not. You can't compare it to Texas
Hey, you
brisket.
know what? And you got to call it like it is. I do have a friend from Texas and he makes brisket quite often for his get-togethers and stuff. And I his brisket is the best I've ever had. It's pretty freaking amazing. It's got this like bark on it
Hmm.
that's just oh my gosh, and the burnt ends.
Yes.
Like just pile them onto my plate. Just pile them on. They're just so good.
Yes.
It's like candy. It's like meat candy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If it's amazing. It's crazy how long it takes to cook it, but
Oh my
it's
gosh.
all cooked with love, and it's just yeah, it's amazing. That's
Yeah,
one thing I really miss about Texas is the barbecue there.
I'm sure.
If is the barbecue is okay here, but they do Boston butt, so it's like all pork and stuff,
Oh
and
yeah.
then they have the mustard based sauce instead of the tomato based and everything. And so it's funny because
Okay.
my wife hates the or tomato based sauce from
Mm-hmm.
Texas, and she likes the mustard based, or they call it gold sauce, I think it is.
Gold.
I don't know. It's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
It's definitely better than vinegar. I cannot stand vinegar-based barbecue
Really?
sauce. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
North Carolina thing.
yeah.
Ugh, it's terrible. It ruins a piece of meat.
Oh wow. Yeah, my husband's big on smoking meat and
Nice.
he's very into the vinegar-based sauces. The
Mm,
only one that I've found that I really don't care for is the Alabama white sauce. I've never really had one I think that I can truly appreciate, but to me it just doesn't seem like barbecue sauce. It's like
yeah.
a dressing almost.
Yeah, well, it's but I got a
That makes
buddy
sense.
at work. He's from Alabama. He's like, dude, nobody in Alabama is like, oh, dude, give me that Alabama white sauce.
Oh,
He's
really?
like, I don't even know why they call it Alabama white sauce because nobody eats that there. So I don't know where the name comes from, but
Okay.
yeah,
That makes me feel better.
yeah, and that white sauce, yeah, it's not very good, but it's funny just how it gets its name, but
That's true.
nobody there has it. It's funny because I give them a hard time sometimes. They'd be like, "Hey man, you can get some of that Alabama white sauce, dude." So it's hilarious.
That's good to know. I'm gonna have to tell a few friends about that because we're always like, "What is with this Alabama white
Yeah,
sauce?"
no, it's yeah. I don't know where it came from, but it wasn't from Alabama apparently because he's
Okay.
from the Tuscaloosa area. So I'd
Oh,
say
I
one
feel like
of
he would know.
yeah, he would definitely know about that for sure.
Yeah.
Let's reel this thing back in. Well, let's get back to speaking here. I love that we
Yeah.
go on tangents. It's one thing that I love about you, Nell, is that you're awesome. You go with the flow. It's all about going on these tangents, which really a lot of times with speaking, you have those opportunities where you have to kind of go down those rabbit holes, especially more so
Yeah.
coaching than speaking per se. But even with speaking,
Yeah.
obviously podcasting, it always creates a good environment. It creates something that people can actually be engaged with and actually
Yeah.
get to enjoy you as the podcast host and
Yeah.
the guest as well and be able to enjoy that conversation there.
Yeah.
But what I want to ask you is how did you start preparing for your first stage? So the first time you went to speak, how did you kind of prepare for that? Besides, I mean, obviously being with an amazing coach like me. No, I'm just
I was
kidding.
just gonna say, I mean, the only reason is amazing coaching. So it really just kind of got thrown into my lap, the opportunity. I actually
Mhm.
was out to dinner with family, I think, one night, and my coach at the time, now business partner, Kyle Slaymaker, he got me into a Facebook Messenger group um, about an event that somebody else in another mastermind group was hosting. And he texted me and said, FYI, you're going to be speaking at this event. And I didn't get
Nice.
the text right away because I was at dinner. And then I went onto my phone after dinner and I didn't get his text right away. The
Mhm.
notification that I got was, thank you so much for speaking at my event, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? And I was like so confused. And then I got his text and I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm speaking at this event. So I immediately enlisted your help for coaching and your the tips and tricks that you gave to me. I've been practicing and I use my cats all the time and they're great critics. They're really great. They let me know all the time what I'm doing wrong,
Yeah, they'll
especially when
either
I'm
just leave the room or they'll
yeah,
stay and listen, right?
or, when they're really annoyed, their ears kind of go up and they do this funky little thing. But so when you actually practice it and you record yourself and listen to yourself over and over again and just really also know your stuff. Know what you're talking about. Immerse yourself in it. And that honestly gets you naturally prepared because then you are so excited to share your story. You're so excited to help people like I talked about and it does. It really comes naturally. And I am just thankful that I have people around me and surrounding me encouraging me and that helps too, for sure.
Yeah, of course. And you're doing awesome. I love the how you bring out the jokes at the beginning of your openers and everything. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. And I know the other day we were practicing, and it was funny because you're like, so this says, look at this note, and I don't know where this page is at, and okay, so it was
Here we
awesome. But
are.
yeah, but no, you were doing really awesome with that. So how did it feel when you got asked that right away? Like, can you dive into that a little bit more? Because I know it's
Yeah.
just so random, but like, how did you feel once the whole like, what did this really just happen? Like, How did you feel after that?
I honestly, I felt like if the very first reaction I had was, why would they want me?
Mm,
Why? Like, I have not spoken on a stage before. They don't really know a whole lot about me. What could they possibly want? And when I got further into the group, I started to notice who the other speakers were. And so I, Facebook stalked everybody, and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh. I I'm on the same level as these people, these other speakers, amazing people that she asked to come to her event." And then it just became complete flattery. And I thought, okay, I guess this is the real deal. People actually want to hear me speak. And it was like this epiphany like, okay, I have a platform now. Let's use it.
nice. Nice. And so obviously Kyle was there to help get you in, but you
Yeah.
had to do some stuff before that. And a lot of people, hey, I want to get on stage, but they think just because they want to get on stage, they have that desire, it's just going to come. So what did you do to kind of get that offer to be on stage? Because again, I know Kyle had the connection. I know you're
Yeah.
talking about the events that she's running. Kyle was obviously that mutual connection for y'all. So he
Yeah.
kind of helped get you in that door. But obviously there was something that happened that you've been putting in work or something for Kyle to recommend you, because he wouldn't
Right,
just
right.
recommend anybody. I know how Kyle is. So
Yeah.
what did you do in order for Kyle to be like, I'm going to recommend Nell for this speaking event?
Yeah. So you're right. You're absolutely right. You got to put in the work. You do the work. But the biggest thing is putting yourself out there.
Mm,
No one's going to recommend you if you're not being your authentic self, if you're not being vulnerable, if you're not showing your true colors. So I wrote a book. It's called Curvature of the Career. It's available on Amazon. Uh, so I did do that. That was one of the scariest things I had ever done. Um, that was the very first moment where I felt like, all right, I have nothing left to put out there. Everything's there. If you want to see it, it's all right there in this book. But I just kept going with that. I kept it rolling. But even before that, I put myself out there. That's what I did. And I also put the time in. And if Kyle, my coach, said, you know what, I think you should do this, the reason why you have a coach is to follow their advice. If
mm,
you're not coachable and you consistently push back on their suggestions and advice, well, there's no point in the coach. You
yeah.
know what? If you think you can do it better on your own, you go ahead, you go try. But I listened to what he said. I did everything he told me to do, and I did it 100 times more and better than he
Mm,
expected. And, you really start to get people's attention when you take a task and you say, okay, well, I'm going to raise you one better than this. So there's a book out by Ed Milet called The Power of One More. I haven't
mhm,
finished it yet, but, take something but just go that extra step and people will notice.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, doing that one additional is
Mhm.
it's going to compound over time, because you can do, if you have 100%, you can do exactly what you're told, and that's great. But if you do that little extra, that's going to start going a long ways. It's going to
Yeah.
make you better. It's going to show that you're going to do more. You're willing to go above and beyond, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just that little bit extra differentiates you from the person that's literally just doing that work.
Whoa, I am so sorry about this. I have no idea what just happened.
Yeah, I saw a flicker there, the video flicker. That was, yeah, that was kind of
Oh,
strange.
come on. I accidentally accepted the call. That's my apologies.
Hmm.
Whew, okay.
Well, I mean, I can still hear you. That
Okay,
didn't
good.
really go away. I mean, it flickered, so you're
I
good there.
am sorry about that.
No, you're totally fine. So I didn't see anything mess up, and we're
Okay,
still going
good.
here. So
All right. All right, good. Yeah, no, I got a FaceTime call and I tried to end it and then I accidentally accepted it. And a friend of mine is on a cruise right now to Alaska and he was trying to show me some of the glaciers.
dang, so you're gonna miss out on that.
That's okay. He's on
Yeah.
West Coast time. I can call him later.
Okay. Okay. Well, good deal. Yeah, that's pretty awesome there. But yeah, so you put in all the work, you showed up and showed up more than 100% to be able to get that. And so that's a lot of the reason why Kyle was then like, hey, this is a no-brainer. Nell needs to be here. And so having that opportunity, that connection, and then really putting yourself out there as well, because you had the desire, and that's obviously something you have to do if you're wanting to get on stage. You have to be mentioning it out there, putting it on social media, telling
Mm-hmm.
people about that as well. Is
Yeah.
just like having a business but never talking about it. The business
Yeah.
is not going to go very far if you're not talking
No.
about it, but then you do have to do the work as well.
Yes, you do have to do the work. People aren't just going to come to you if you're not proving yourself and showing people who you really are. And yeah, I mean the world just doesn't work that way. And we talked earlier about how business was going, and I'd mentioned now I've gotten to a place where people are starting to come to me. And that doesn't happen
Hmm.
without, before Kyle told me when I first started, he said, "All right, I want you to get 5 people in your pipeline every single day."
Hmm.
And, some days you'd get 8, some days you'd get 2, some days you'd get none. And you really have to just put that grind in and work at it and build a brand, build a name for yourself. Because when you start getting the clients and they start putting your work out there and they're proud of what you've created together, and other people see it, and referrals become your best friend.
Hmm.
And it's amazing how then not only do you continue doing the work, but then now your work speaks for itself. So
Yeah.
it's an amazing feeling to get to that space too.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I gotta ask the question a little selfishly. How did you get 5 people in your pipeline? Like, what does that even mean? And how did you go about doing that?
So 5 people adding to your pipeline. So you basically you go out and you message people, you call people, you knock on people's doors, you talk to people, and whatever you're offering, you capture their attention first. You kind of get, it's part of the sales process. So you get into a conversation with them, get them to start to feel comfortable, create a relationship. And
Mhm.
that's what Kyle and I have been working on as far as coaching people. Like it's not just the typical sales, go in, tell them all about the product, and there's nothing there but a business
Mhm.
sense. What you really want to do is create relationships with your clients and your customers
Mm.
and get people to feel comfortable with you and get them to trust you, because they need to be able to in order to buy what you have. So when you're getting people into your pipeline, it's creating relationships. It's just reaching out to people for coffee. It's just how and figuring out how what you have to offer can help them and enrich their lives, their businesses, and aligning your core values. That's extremely important too. You
Mm.
can talk to 20 people all day long and not enter any of them into your pipeline if you don't align your core values.
Mm. So how do you go about aligning those core values, especially if you're talking to random people? Like, I guess as part of the building relationships, or how does
Yeah,
that work out?
it's definitely part of building
Okay.
relationships. You start to kind of get a feel, and I've always thought I was pretty intuitive when it comes to talking to people. I know that people have said that I make them feel very comfortable, and I was a bartender in a past life and a more recent life, and people used to come to me, and I don't people I've never met before in my life will come down and sit down and tell me all about the affair they just had. And it's like,
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have the capacity for this right now.
Yeah. Nor do I really care to hear this.
Right. But I I guess I just have this natural ability to connect with people. But you can definitely tell when you're conversing with someone if you're not connecting, maybe they've mentioned something that you don't quite agree with, and
Mhm.
then you start to really see, you know what, this is not the client for me.
Mm.
And it's truly knowing, and this is the other thing. It's not all about the money. You can't just go after the money, because not all money is good money. I'm not willing to work with someone that doesn't align with my core values just to make a buck.
Yeah.
I get it. We have to make money to survive. We have to put food on the plates and roofs over our heads, but at the end of the day, you choosing to work with someone that aligns with those values is the most important thing, because you're not going to be happy, and why else are we doing this?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very it's very important to really pick up on those relationship forming techniques, I guess we could call them.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. It's very similar to working with somebody that wants a discount. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll give you the discount. And those are the people that seem to be more demanding of your time and they expect so much more, but you give them a discount, which is crazy. So you really
Yeah.
just regret it if it's like, this wasn't even truly worth my time because I normally get paid more than this. Now you have all this regret. So it's really the same thing with the core values because they don't align with your core values. So instead of, it feels like almost working with a friend or somebody that you're really kind of close to because y'all just get each other.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like working with an enemy almost, and it's just a drag every time. It's
Yeah, and
basically
you
kind of like going back to a 9 to 5 almost. You're like, I kind of have to do this versus like,
exactly.
oh, I love doing this, and it's really like working with somebody I really enjoy and could just be friends with.
Exactly. And that's, it's a struggle, because it's also it's a struggle with yourself, because when you're in a position of wanting to help people and actually doing the coaching and the consulting for all the right reasons, you
Hmm.
want to help everybody.
Yeah,
So even if somebody comes to you and says, "I can't pay you," but I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
how do I say no? I mean, it's just so it's really it's a struggle.
It is like, I offered some free coaching a while back for public speaking, and it was crazy because I had a lot of people join in on it, and I did some one-on-ones, but then I had so many, I was like, well, I do want to be able to serve everybody, so let me do a
Right.
couple of group coaching sessions. And if I had one full group show up, I had a second group that one person showed up, and the third group nobody showed up for the first time.
Yeah.
And then I did it a second week and nobody showed up for all three groups and I canceled it. It was supposed to be like 4 free sessions. And I felt like
Yeah.
this is terrible because here I am doing it for free and it's not happening.
And that when that happens, because it happens to everybody, especially when you're starting out, it feels incredibly degrading. It
Hmm.
feels like, wow, here I am offering my services for free and it's still not good enough. That's
Yeah.
how
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's how I felt. I'm assuming that I'm not the only one that has felt like that when they've experienced that situation. It's not good. And, I think that when that was happening, we finally found a time and a groove where we started to notice patterns and things like that, where we were able to guarantee that people would show up. And because we were doing live coaching calls in our Facebook group, and then, there's the people that say they're going to show up and then they
Hmm.
don't. I mean, look, I get it. Life happens. But,
Yeah.
when it becomes, 5 to 8 people that say, "Oh, yeah, I'll be there," what happened to all 5 to 8 of those people?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Which
yeah.
goes back to the core values. Like for me,
Mhm.
integrity is one of those. And if I say I'm going to do something,
Yes.
obviously there's circumstances that just kind of are out of our control that we can't
Yeah.
do that. But I try as hard as I can to live up to my word and
Yes.
everything, live to that
Yeah.
integrity.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
am
big thing.
huge on that. I cancel commitments if I absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Absolutely have to. I mean, I have to be like on the deathbed, or somebody has to ask me to cancel for them, and
Hmm.
it takes a lot, and I hate myself. There's this extreme guilt, and I've actually had to learn to get away from that, because in business sometimes you overlap things in your calendar.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
just
I've done that.
happens.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it happens more than I care
Yeah.
to talk about. But I think I canceled a session with you one time earlier on, because it was an absolutely insane week. My
Hmm.
husband needed me, and I just especially when it comes to family and things like that, that's when I had to learn, you know what, I gotta cancel this. I gotta reschedule or something.
Yeah.
But people are investing their time, money. You know, the very least you can do is show up.
For sure. Or at least like tell somebody, hey, this is what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Is
Work
sometimes,
with
like you
me.
said, things
Yeah.
do happen, but it's
Yeah.
funny because some people they'll just totally ignore it, or they'll
Yeah.
wait and like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. And then it's like so last minute, you're like, really? I could have done something else in the meantime.
I
And
know.
you had told me, I think the day of, if I remember correctly, but it was totally fine because I had some
Yeah.
stuff going on too. So I'm like, oh, that kind of worked out. It
Yeah.
gives me time to go work on this other thing instead.
Yeah.
And so it worked out, but it was nice you at least try to tell me as soon as you could. And
I
that's a
know.
big thing too. If you're just at least tell people up front, and that always works so much better than
Yes.
trying to, come up with some stupid excuse. Just say, look, I double booked by accident, or
Mhm.
hey, something came up with family. I've got to work on that, which really is kind of a core of us, maybe not necessarily a core value, but like family, it's an important
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Our spousal relationship, that's important to us. So okay, I get it. And we're on the same page with that. That's why we work well together because
Yes.
we get that. Okay, families first. Okay, you go,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead and take care of that. No problem. We can reschedule. Not a big
Yeah.
deal. And
Yeah.
we can go find something else. And I know you're not going to do that every single time because that was obviously be a different thing. So
Yeah.
that's it's such a good point that you do have to live up to those core values and everything. And I
Yes.
like that you look and listen for those things. That's a huge thing to look out for. Even really, even within speaking, when you're on stage, you're having to look at the people's reactions if you can. I mean, obviously, on
Yeah.
certain stages, you just can't see the audience at all. So you have to kind of guess how they're engaging. But
I
if
think at
you're
that point it's more maybe like listening
yeah.
to what's
Yeah,
happening.
exactly. But if you're there doing a presentation for a board
Mhm.
member or group of board members or something, or in a room full of engineers or salespeople or something, you can
Yeah.
look at the audience and see how they're engaging. Are they still looking at you? Are they still paying attention? Are they lean forward into the conversation, or are they like kind of kick back? Their heads
Right.
tilted back like they're about to fall asleep, and you can know how to readdress things or get them more focused again and
Yes.
everything. So really just looking at that audience, listening
Yes.
and
Using them for
everything.
guidance.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Exactly. So I know we talked about this just a little bit, but you know, can you explain just maybe a little bit more of how you became a public speaker, or maybe we'll ask because you kind of talked a little bit about how you kind of got into it with Kyle and everything, but or what do you talk about when it comes to public speaking? Let's go with that instead. That's a little bit better
Yeah.
question.
So, what I personally talk about is my pivot or adjustment from going from a 9 to 5 job to full time entrepreneurship.
Mm,
And specifically, going from a C suite level job to risking everything and jumping full time into entrepreneurship. I talk
mm,
about everything from how to get over the humps of or survive the dark times in the process. I talk about my own story and how I did it and how I probably don't totally recommend exactly how I did it. I go over having a plan and, how to handle certain situations. And so, if anybody, if the fear of taking that leap is what you're thinking about, that's what I speak on. And that's how I feel I can help people. We talked about this in our last coaching session. I'm going to be revealing statistics about how happy or unhappy people are in their jobs. And I think it was a staggering 80% of people or
yeah,
something
something like
are,
that.
yeah, not happy.
Yeah,
80% people.
yeah,
That's insane.
it is.
So you can't tell me that all of these people have some other aspirations or dreams or something that they want to do and they feel they can actually make a living out of, and
Hmm.
they're just okay with not doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, what life are you really living? I get it. You need to have some circumstances set up. Maybe you want to save some money.
Hmm.
Maybe you want to be in a different area. There are things and factors that come into play like that. But taking that leap is ultimately what you have to get over to get to your dreams and
Yeah.
making them reality.
So true. And it doesn't have to be literally going into entrepreneurship. I mean, some people,
No.
they're just
No.
not made for that. And
No.
entrepreneurship is tough. It is a
Uh
tough thing. But
Yeah.
maybe it's deciding to go from retail to I don't know, food and beverage or
Yeah,
something like
no,
that, or
it's any
whatever makes you
major.
happy, whatever is
Yeah.
going to satisfy you more, because money is not everything. Obviously you
Mhm.
have to have some kind of income, but
Yes.
money is not everything. You're going to be so much happier. Well, I think Gary Vee talks about, if you're making 40,000 years, it's 40,000 a year and you're happy with your job, you love your job, you're going to be much happier and live a more fulfilled life than making 100,000 at a job you just
Yeah.
absolutely hate.
Yeah, one of the biggest questions that I was asked when I decided to make this transition was, well, I mean, how are you going to be able to be happy and live your lifestyle without having that steady income?
Mm,
And my answer was, I've been happier making less.
yeah.
I remember 15 years ago when I was making two-thirds of my salary when I was at the coffee company, and I, boy, I miss those days.
Yeah.
I should say I missed back. This was last year when I hadn't quite made the transition yet, but
Yeah.
I missed those days. I missed the carefree, leave work on a Friday. Let's. There's no plans for the weekend. Let's just
Mhm.
figure it out on a whim. And I mean, yeah, I worried about money a little bit in the sense that I knew my boundaries and what I couldn't do, but I I just had the time, I had the freedom, I had everything that I had even when I was at a job that I hated, but I was making less, I had less responsibility. I could just leave work and stop thinking about it, and
Mhm.
it was a completely different time. And I was younger, and it just, I wanted to get back to me
Yeah.
because that's how I truly felt I was the most myself, was when I was just I was, the saying, you do you, boo. I was boo, I was just doing me,
Yeah.
and I wanted to get back to that place, and I was just so consumed with how I should be and how much I should be making and what I need to be able to afford the dream vacations and all of that stuff. And I knew that I could make that happen for myself
Mhm.
and do that only for me and not for someone else. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
An awesome thing doing it yourself. You can make your husband drive and you can do video edits in the back of the car.
Uh-huh, I have done that. That was pretty cool because
I don't know how you did that.
I
That
you know I there are a lot of people that get motion sickness from
mhm.
just like reading books in vehicles. I've never been one of those people. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna give it a shot, and it was a weekday, and I one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I wanted to afford myself the freedom to be anywhere and do my job.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, it's a weekday and I need to get some work done. So I'm just gonna do this in the car. And slap the headphones on, put the laptop on your lap, and away you go. And I will tell you, that was the quickest 4.5 hour drive I've ever been on.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Yeah, that's exactly why I do the coaching too, because I want to be able to do it from anywhere. I haven't
Yeah.
quite done it in the car or made my wife drive yet. I don't know if that would work out too well. I think it would
Oh,
be
that
kind of
totally
distracting.
works. You can do
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I'm sure I could have some calls, but yeah. And she doesn't like to drive though, so I would have to do like just a
uh,
regular phone call. But yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
want to be able to do it from anywhere as well. So that's definitely
Yeah.
why I picked up the coaching myself.
Yes. Yeah.
So, well, hey, Nell, I appreciate you coming on. It's been amazing talking with you. I do want to ask you one last question. So, this is my last canned question that I love to ask people, but it's always great to get perspectives. And I think this is a question that really helps you think outside the box for yourself and really make sure that you're in alignment with where you want to go or
Yeah.
help you get into that alignment. So, if you could only share one message for the rest of your life, what would that message be?
Be yourself.
Ooh,
Just be you.
hmm,
It's going to get you further than you ever thought possible. It is your number one tool to sell. It is your branding. It's everything. If you are not yourself, it is, people notice. And it's they can see right through you.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, a lot of times we like to say, how whatever percentage of the world is just not that smart. That's not true. Everybody's just creative and unique in their own way, but they'll always see through the BS, you know?
Hmm.
And being yourself, I mean, I, it's freeing. It is going to allow the happiness, the true happiness to be found. Because if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, if you're constantly going out and acting a part, that's exhausting.
Hmm.
That is incredibly exhausting. Look, actors and actresses in Hollywood get paid a lot of money, right? They're they're truly trying to be a character that they are not.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, if you actually think about putting yourself out there and going out there and playing a part that's not truly you, you're going to get tired of it so quick and people are going to see through it. You're going to fade off into cancel culture before you even know it.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, it's your tool for everything. And if you're not truly being yourself, you're just not happy.
Yeah. Thinking of that, I never thought about the fact that The Rock and Kevin Hart, they play themselves. Like in every movie they do, it's them. They might be
Yeah.
something
Or
else,
like
a
a
different
version of themselves.
person,
Yeah.
but it's still their personality. Like, I would
Hmm.
say 90% of it is their personality. It's who
Yeah.
they are. They just have a new name. They're in a new city. Maybe they have a different family, whatever.
Yeah.
But 90% of it is them. And really, that's probably why they're so successful, because they are them. So you get to know
Hmm.
them in the movie, but they're the same person when they're on social media trying to build their brand.
Yeah.
Now, they grew up, if you will, with social media as they started building into movies and everything. Unlike some of our previous actors and actresses, they didn't necessarily have social media to help them with that.
Right.
But I guarantee, well, then they're usually behind the scenes. They're not on social media, so you don't see who they are. But when they go and act, they're acting on movies. And so who they are outside of a movie is somebody completely different. So
Yeah.
we don't know who they are. So we can't get engaged with them. And so, yeah, that's a
Right.
super important thing, to be yourself for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a simple example. I don't know if you have any wrestling fans that listen to your podcast, and I
Right.
myself am not, I wouldn't consider myself a wrestling fan. My husband is, but I've honestly always looked at WWE as kind of I look to their business model and things like that. They've been around for a very long time. And
Hmm.
I, my husband has told me that there's a particular era from wrestling called the Attitude Era, where basically the wrestlers were allowed to be more of themselves in their promos, I think is the correct term, where they're kind of engaging with the other wrestlers and telling a story before they go out in the ring and duke it out. Um, he's probably going to kill me for saying that. But, you know, so these promos that they're cutting, they're improvising during this era, and then all of a sudden it became more regulated and more scripted and more character based and not influenced by their own influence. And he said you could absolutely tell when they started scripting word for word those promos, because it got awkward. It wasn't them putting their own personality behind the character anymore, and the script and the actual natural script that was happening. And he
Hmm.
said it got weird and they lost a lot of fans because of this. And then there was a whole other conglomerate that started where they were allowing the wrestlers to be more of themselves and put their own thoughts and influences into their characters. And a lot of wrestlers left and went to that conglomerate because of that. So, I mean, if you think about an extremely successful business like that, experiencing the inauthenticity and losing fans, I mean, that speaks volumes. And they have massive amounts of fans all over the world. So, I mean, it's really, truly a testament to being yourself.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing that. And Nell, I know we could go on
I
forever,
know, I
but I
know.
do want to make sure that people can follow you. They can try and get coaching with you. They can
Yeah.
get amazing video editing with you. So where is the best place for them to reach out to be able to follow you, to get the coaching and everything from you?
Definitely, absolutely. So I am on Facebook. I'm all over social media. I can be
Mhm.
found. I'm Nell Tice. And for coaching, you can reach out to me at the slaymakermethod.com. And for video editing, you can reach out to me through enticingmedia.com. Enticing is spelled ENTICEing because it's a play on my last name. So, enticingmedia.com, theslaymakermethod.com, Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, Nell K. Tice. I do have a podcast called What the Nell, and I have a Facebook group for that. So go ahead and join. And yeah, I'm all over the place. So come find me, seek me out.
Awesome. Yeah, you are, but you're being your authentic self. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. But Nell, thanks for coming on and sharing your story is amazing. Lots of great tips throughout and lots of fun going off in crazy tangents, but I love it. That's what makes you you. What's what makes you amazing. So I
Thank
appreciate you coming
you.
on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.